Hello, Acts Fellowship Church. For those of you who don't know me or may be looking to visit Acts for the first time, my name is Donan Kim, one of the steering advisors at Acts Fellowship Church. The purpose of this video is to give you a preview of what you can expect when we reopen for Sunday worship services. So, as we've been announcing, after much consideration and prayer, we will be resuming in-person services in September with a soft opening plan on September 13th involving some of the leaders and various ministry teams, and the official reopening service on September 20th, which will be open to everyone. This is a truly exciting step for us as a church. We've also been sharing with you for the past few weeks about the safety measures we've put in place as we reopen. In this video, we'll be walking through what Sunday service will be like, from the arrival to dismissal, and you'll get to see those safety measures in detail. Before that though, I did want to share a little bit of our thought process about how we arrived at this decision. Back in March, when we stopped meeting in person for Sunday worship, we were doing our part to flatten the curve and fight this pandemic. This was not only for the health and safety of our church members, but also to be an example to the community around us that we're taking this pandemic seriously. We first had planned on reopening in June, but we ultimately decided to delay, being sensitive to the changing situations. Throughout this time, we've continued to seek God to determine the best time to resume meeting again. So, barring any significant change in the next couple of weeks, we feel that the right time is upon us. As a leadership, we've stayed informed about the condition of the rest of the state, the country, and even the world, but our primary focus has been our local area. That's because when you're looking at so many stats and headlines from other parts of the world, it can be extremely hard to get a good sense of how things are actually going where you live. So, looking at our local 5-county Greater Austin area, we saw a sharp spike in June, and we reached the peak around mid-July. But since then, there's been a steady decline in hospitalizations, ICU admissions, and ventilator use for the past 49 days as of the date of this recording. This is especially encouraging because this continual decline has happened without having to close any businesses again. In fact, the majority of businesses are open. We currently have ample hospital capacity, with current hospitalizations having returned to pre-spike levels. Additionally, as of the date of this recording, the City of Austin has lowered its status to Stage 3 in its COVID risk-based guidelines. Now, all of this doesn't mean that we can become laxed in our collective effort to fight this pandemic. But this is encouraging news that we are headed in the right direction, something we should all be thankful for. Now, some of you might be wondering, why can't we all just continue to meet virtually as we have been? Corporate worship in a virtual setting can definitely be God-glorifying. We've been doing it for 5 months now, so we know it has its purpose. But virtual worship cannot be a long-term strategy. With corporate in-person worship, there's a level of spiritual and emotional connectedness, a visible unity, a passion that is shared that can't be duplicated with virtual worship. It's similar to spending time with your friends or family. Doing it virtually can of course be a blessing, but ultimately it can in no way replace real in-person connections. Worship, as PC has been preaching about recently, is vitally important to us as a church. As leaders, it's our job to weigh the benefits of in-person corporate worship against the potential risks. As you've seen in the news, there's been a lot of examples of churches becoming catalysts for COVID outbreaks. There's a negative stigma that churches in general have been irresponsible. But in virtually all of those cases, there were no safety measures in place, no masks, no social distancing. We feel confident that with the extensive safety measures we've put in place, we will be very responsible as we resume meeting. We're confident that you can feel safe to come in person with minimal risk. We believe that now is the right time for us to begin meeting again. Now, some of you don't feel ready and won't feel ready just yet. and that's okay. We know that some of you may have different health situations, different family situations, or it may be just that you aren't ready yet and may not agree that the time is right yet. All that is okay too. We respect the timing and the decision that you make for you and your family. And in the meantime, we'll work hard to provide a high quality live stream so that you can continue worshiping with us from home. Now, we also have some of you that are ready to come back, and we want to make that available to you, and we're excited to see you soon. We fully expect the numbers initially to be much smaller, and even if it's just a handful of people for our first reopening service, that's okay. We know that as a church, this is a necessary first step, and that the numbers will grow gradually. So, without further delay, let's dive into what you can expect when you come to church. Hey guys, you're joining me here in the main entry area to church. You may have forgotten what this area looked like since it's been so long since you've been at church, but a lot of it looks different. We've repurposed this area to be our safety / check-in / welcome station. We're gonna go over all that in a little bit, but I did wanna cover just a few things before we do that. First, all the safety protocols that we've come up with is a culmination of research from a lot of different sources, from talking to different churches, talking to medical professionals, getting guidance from the CDC, the U.S. Department of Health Services, and guidance from the state of Texas as well. So we've tried to get the best information and kind of implement that. The first step for you in joining for in-person services will be to RSVP online. The link will be available on all the Facebook pages and on the website as well. And we ask that you RSVP every single week that you are planning to come. And if you forget to RSVP ever, or if you have friends coming, or maybe there's new visitors coming to church, all that is okay. We're just trying to get a general rough number of how many to expect so we can plan accordingly. A note on total capacity, just to be clear, there's no governmental entity that can put a cap on how many people can meet. Even still, we still want to be sensitive to it and we want to be safe. So we're going to be monitoring the total number of attendees so that we can be properly spaced out and the chairs can be spaced out and so forth. Lastly, a reminder that Acts Kids is set to open a month later, so mid-October. And then currently the Acts Nursery will not be open for the foreseeable future. But in the meantime, if you have kids, we encourage you to come together and sit together as a family unit in the main service. We'll be providing crayons for you to keep, an activity book that ties in with the Acts Kids curriculum. So we want to keep the kids engaged. And we know that having kids in the main service is going to be a little bit more noise, some distractions, but all that is okay. We're just glad that we're going to be able to worship together, in person together. So that's pretty much it. Let's move out to the parking lot now so we can look at the arrival process and go from the very beginning. All right, it's a beautiful Sunday morning. You're excited to worship God with your church family here. You've driven to church, you've parked your vehicle. Let me just share with you a couple of things right here from the parking lot. Number one, no congregating. I know that it's going to be real tempting to stand here and talk for a little bit, hug each other and catch up, but we ask that you don't do that. Some of you may already be doing that in smaller groups, and that's okay, but in a large group setting like this, we have to ask you not to congregate and loiter like that. The second thing is, don't forget your mask. Everyone needs to wear a mask, and we are going to follow CDC recommendations. Children over the age of 2 need to wear a mask, and all the adults need to wear a mask for the entire worship service. So don't forget to bring that. If you do, we do have masks inside, which I'll show you. Go ahead and follow me. We'll walk right up. So as we approach here, we see that there's a reminder to socially distance. As you wait to check in, there may or may not be a line, but these markers here are to remind everyone to space out. And we're going to go ahead and head on in and take a look at the check-in system. Okay, so we're inside. This is where you're going to meet the safety team. Their job is going to be to welcome you and to take you through the check-in process. That check-in process is basically 3 steps. Number 1, they're going to take a temperature. Number 2, they're going to ask you a list of COVID-related symptoms and if you've been in contact with anybody who's had COVID. And then number 3, they're going to record your name and those who are attending with you for contact tracing purposes. So that's pretty much the check-in. And if you don't already have a mask, we're going to have adult and kids masks for you. And this is also where you can receive a kids pack for ACTS Kids that has crayons and an activity book. So that's pretty much the check-in process here. As we walk in here, you can sanitize your hands. We really encourage that. As we walk into the foyer area, I just want to point out to you just the changes in the flow of traffic that we implemented with the floor markers. We're now going to have one dedicated entrance and one dedicated exit. So as people come in, they're going to all come in this way. And if you need to go to the restroom or at the end for dismissal, everybody's going to exit out this way and out this other door. So that's one big change. Another thing is that all the other rooms, any other auxiliary rooms and classrooms are going to be closed for a while. The mother's nursery will remain open for your use. In this lobby area, you can tell that we've removed the benches. We encourage people not to stand here and to loiter here. This is just a walking area. And as we step inside here, as you can tell, the configuration of chairs is really different. There's clusters of 3 chairs, 2 chairs, and 4 chairs. And you'll notice that everything's spaced out 6 feet apart in every direction. So as you come in, you can find a seat that best suits your needs, your family's needs. If you have 4 in your family or 3, you can find a cluster of 4 or 3 chairs. If you're coming by yourself, we encourage you to sit with a friend. If you have a larger family, you can always join clusters together to make a larger grouping of chairs. And ushers will be there to help you out if you do need help. Now let's go on in and take a look at what the worship service will actually look like. All right, in Sunday worship, you're going to see a lot of the same elements that you've been used to. And of course, we're going to wear masks the entire time. There'll be a contactless greeting time where we can turn to each other and wave. There'll be, for offering, we're going to continue to keep it digital, so please continue giving through Venmo, and there's not going to be any bulletins. If you are coming with kids, just a few tips. The water fountain is going to be shut down, put out of service, so please bring a water bottle. If they need to go to the bathroom, please go with them. It's really important that all the parents supervise their kids at all times. We're going to have an activity book given to them, but feel free to bring other quiet toys or small activities that they can do. And the question of what to do when your child cries or makes a disruption. One thing you can do is take him or her out to the outside, because all the classrooms are going to remain closed. But we just want to set the expectation for all our church that there's going to be some minor disruptions, and that's okay. And as we worship together, I think we're going to embrace that. The last part of it is dismissal. So after we're all done with the worship service and the closing prayer is given, why don't you walk back with me? The dismissal is going to be row by row in a very orderly fashion. It's going to start with the back row, and ushers will signal to everyone in the back row that they can go ahead and dismiss, and then it'll continue to progress row by row by row. Everybody's going to exit in the same way, following these signs, exiting to the left. And one important thing is that we ask everybody to go straight to your vehicles, once again, to not congregate, not talk outside, but save that for another time. But go straight to your vehicles, and that'll be the conclusion. So that's what you can expect to see when you come to worship with us. For some of you, I hope this has eased some of your anxieties and answered some of your questions. Just a couple of final notes. We predict that we'll have plenty of room to accommodate everyone who wants to come, but we always have the balcony, which we plan on using for overflow room. In the event that our numbers exceed the space that we have, We'll either look to alternating weekends or possibly adding another service. And trust me, if we run into this problem, it'll be a good problem to have. In the event that we do get a confirmation of a positive case of COVID for anyone who has attended in-person services, we're planning to be extremely cautious and take a 2-week break from gathering in person. With social distancing and everyone wearing masks, there will be extremely low risk of spread, but still, we want to err on the side of caution. So that's about it. We're excited about seeing you again, and we're confident that with these safety measures in place, you can feel safe about coming to worship. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.